Hello everyone, welcome back to the art time lapse. Today I'm doing a piece inspired by Studio Ghibli and it's a fun on the hill piece with the Catbus. This is supposed to be like a fun piece that I was inspired to paint for my children's own bedroom. Honestly, I think a lot of the pieces I do in general are a little bit on the cooler shades or darker tone. So my youngest one actually mentioned that she was a little bit scared of the darker tone for some of my pieces. So I decided to do something a little lighter and brighter. Hopefully the kids will like it a little bit more. So this one I wanted rolling hills and like bright, vibrant colors, something really whimsical and just brings joy when you look at the piece. Decided to start off with some green colors and then slowly mixing in some blues. I'm using acrylic gouache at this point, and it's been my go-to medium, I would say, for the last several years, and I have not grown bored of it yet. Now, if you're actually interested in trying out gouache, I do some online lessons on Skillshare. That's available in the link below, so you can check that out. If you use my link provided, you do get, I believe, 30 days free trial of Skillshare, and you can always unsubscribe if you do not enjoy what they have to offer. So just putting it out there. And also, if you like the content on this channel, it'll mean very much if you can consider subscribing to this channel or giving this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for considering. And on with the art time lapse. So you can see I'm actually speeding through this piece quite quickly. I think if I was actually to slow it down to the timestamp of how long it actually takes me to complete a piece, you might be really bored. I think a piece like this, up from beginning up to this point, takes probably around, I would say, at least 2 hours. The time kind of spent the most is probably waiting for the previous layer to dry, because for gouache I really have to wait for the previous layer to dry before adding on the next layer, or else things just get really messy really quickly. I got a new brush from an art store, and I am loving how the fine point makes it easier for me to do some of these lighter details, and it just reminds me that I have to pick up new brushes every now and then. Sometimes I just get so used to it. You know how you have like this old pair of shoes that you took a while to break in, and when they actually feel comfy now, they are now like totally ripped up and torn and not really appropriate for public. I feel like I get the same thing with brushes sometimes, that once I break it into a point where I really like it, now the pointy end of the brush is really not something usable for me to do these fine details. So I'm really glad I finally took the time to pick up a new brush, and for this painting I actually used the same paintbrush, just a round brush. I believe it's a size 8 for the entire piece, and I love how versatile round brushes are, because if you use the fine tip you can do a lot of detail, and if you put a little bit of pressure on the brush you can use kind of the width and thickness of the brush to do like thicker lines and larger areas. So I find round brushes just so versatile, especially for gouache painting. So for this piece, I've decided to use greens, pinks, a little bit of red and yellows as a theme. It's a different type of color scheme that I'm usually used to. But again, like I mentioned in the beginning, the intention of the piece really is to paint something for my children that they would like, something vibrant and beautiful. And of course, I love Studio Ghibli so much. I also want to include a character in it that hopefully will inspire my children to also be in love with the animations that they come out with. So I decided I'm probably going to do a Catbus theme one, because I feel like the Catbus is just so adorable, and I love the idea of like traveling with a Catbus. Here you can see I've added a few more clouds in the sky, and the painting is slowly coming together. I think after I add in all the gouache, after it dries, I'm probably going to use a white archival jelly roll, a Sakura jelly roll, to highlight some of the details and add a little bit more pattern to it. It's one of the tricks that I use often for my pieces when I want to add opaque white details to some of my gouache artwork. And I think I can only do this because gouache dries as a very matte pigmented medium, so it's easy for me to use another mixed media such as a Sakura jelly roll to draw on top of it, and it just looks wonderful. And this is no secret, and I try to talk about it in a lot of my videos and share with you things that I've learned along the way. One of the reasons that I have these YouTube channels is and talk about adding on dialogue to some of these YouTube videos is to explain my process, because I think a lot of people they get really excited about the final piece, but I feel like the journey is just as important as the destination. So I want to show you how I start from a blank white piece of paper and from scratch and get to the end product that you see today. And I hope that will also inspire other artists to know that, like, sometimes you will see that I make mistakes on my pieces and I have to go back, so nothing ever comes out perfect the first time. So now I'm adding on the Catbus on this kind of yellow brick road along the way. My daughter is actually sitting on my lap at this point as I'm painting in the Catbus, because she's grown an interest into some of the artwork I do. So right after her nap, sometimes she would just sit on my lap while I finish up some of the last of the details. She's not really as patient, and really, I don't know if it's necessarily patience, but she's excited to get involved. So sometimes you'll see her hand reach in and try to participate in the painting process. So hopefully in the future, maybe she'll have a special appearance in some of my other videos, and you'll get to maybe see some of her artwork, because I think she's also very proud of her, I guess, creative genes. So here for the Catbus, I'm showing you the process of how I add on the face. You can see I actually don't do pencil outlines to sketch out where everything is. Instead, I use diluted gouache to stake out where all the details are. I think this is just my lazy way of going about it, because if I had used pencil or some kind of pencil crayon to stake out where everything is in the beginning, I have to go back and erase it. So it's just my laziness nature that kind of resulted in this type of painting technique. But I think overall the piece is coming together quite nicely. One thing I'm reminded by as I'm painting this piece is that darker colors generally dry lighter with gouache, and lighter colors generally dry darker with gouache, which is why after I finish painting, I'm like, why is it that the painting seems really light, and when I first started adding the paint it looked really dark? And that's, remember, I was like, oh yeah, the darker colors, they dry lighter. So that's something I have to constantly remind myself, and that the painting does look a little bit different compared to what I started with when I intentionally put a paint to paper. So here I'm also adding May chasing the suit sprites in front, and a little bit of shadow underneath the Catbus, because the Catbus is making a leap on the road. And I think that's it for my piece. I'm about finished. So I hope you enjoyed this art time lapse of the Studio Ghibli inspired art piece, Fun on the Hill with the Catbus. And I'll see you next time in another video. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.